Welcome to 13 Minutes of Gig News. Let's get into it. So the last few weeks we've been talking about DoorDash. We've been talking about liquor, ethical behaviors, moral compass, just all the way around what's going on. Decrease in order volume, losing major accounts on LOP, losing catering offers, not the drivers, well, the drivers indirectly, but the actual DoorDash platform themselves are losing customers. I think we all know why. The customer service is absolutely horrible on both the driver and the customer side. Well, we've been following New York City. I talked about this a little bit last week, and I thought maybe this week we'd get it off it because I really want to do a 13 minutes on Uber Teen. I did one a while back, but we've got a lot more info, and I want to spit it all out as stats on 113 here. Maybe it'll be next weekend. But we have to follow up this story. So this will be the conclusion to it until the new year, because I don't think, unless we see something crazy, but you're all aware by now, I'm sure, that New York City has moved Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats to a minimum wage. It's a very, 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 very confusing thing. It looks very straightforward. It is not. It is very confusing. The law that's going into place isn't in place yet. DoorDash does not need to be doing it yet, and they are. So that's curiosity point one that we'll get to. But they are doing it, but they don't need to until February 2nd. There's already pushes in to, again, even though this was a Supreme Court, every time we've been through this so many times, you guys. I've talked about floor meets ceiling. I've talked about what happened is exactly in New York City to rideshare drivers when they did this. But in the rideshare driver situation, when they decided there would be a $28.86 payment that everybody'd get per active hour on the platform, all of the people that I knew in New York City who were making 50, 60 plus an hour and working the tough shifts, the midnight shifts, the weekend shifts, all the shifts nobody wants, on those shifts, they weren't able to make much over what that floor meets ceiling was, that 28.86 or whatever it was. That was done mostly, though, by the city to get the amount of drivers under control because you had to pick blocks. But B, it was really a push to help the taxi medallion owners. Now, since then, the taxi medallion owners have onboarded to the Uber app, and now they're already getting back off it. I said when that happened, this is only a play for Uber. The taxis will not win out of this. I don't know what they thought they were going to get out of that, but all they did was show Uber their logistics, where their cars are, where most of their calls come from. Now Uber has a rein on that too. But the rideshare portion has failed in New York City. It created dirtier cars. It created people not taking the job as seriously, because the people who were making 50, 60 bucks an hour were cleaning their cars daily. They had water, all the old school things. That's gone. And we're just down to like, what is an entry level car? What's a beater? And we'll take you around. And that failed. Now we're to the delivery space. DoorDash, Grubhub, all of these have to do, what is it, $17.96 an hour or 50 cents a minute for active time. So there's a lot of logistical challenges here. I want to talk about the hourly rate, but we will wait until the new year on that one, because that's when Uber's going to challenge this, because there's actually pieces of this that you guys don't know yet. And I don't even know how they'll play out, but I know what is going to be what mechanisms will be in place to try from the city and state standpoint to try and deter you from the 50 cents a minute and get you over to the other option, which that's not really that public yet. And I think that's why it launched early. So to the people in New York City, to those that are happy with this, great. You guys, there's so many problems that I think, and Uber and Grubhub, or we'll just say Uber and DoorDash, are creating as many problems as they can right now too, to make it so that it's almost an undoable thing, because that'll help strengthen their fight in the new year when they want to push before this February 2nd thing. So, okay, so already, since this went into place, the DoorDash app says, hey, you can earn 20, whatever it is, $29.93. If you guys are wondering what that number is, that number is based on, if you're wondering why 50 cents a minute, 60 minutes would be $30 an hour. That fraction of cents, that 7 cents or whatever difference, that it's not 30, but it's 29.93. The reason for that is they actually determined the amount of time it would take after finishing an order if you immediately took another, that little fraction of time that you wouldn't be paid. Plus, it looks better than a straight 30 because even though 30 is more money, 30 looks a little strange. 29.93 looks like an actual number was figured out. But what has happened since this happened? DoorDash is trying, I'm going to use DoorDash now. They're trying to claim the fame of doing this. Hey, look what we're doing for you. Around the holidays, we're really up in the game. But already, I mean, even in California with Prop 22, it took them about almost a year for the companies to say, hey, let's line item Prop 22 out to the customers and make them pay it. Already, day one, New York already is tagging a $2 fee onto everything to the customer. They have raised their delivery and processing rates, which are dynamic anyway, but they've raised them both already. They have taken away the opportunity to upfront tip, which I think is good because I've said that I think you're bidding on a service more than tipping. As somebody who's come from the customer service industry, a lot of bar and restaurant background, I can tell you that, I just have a hard time even thinking about tipping, the word tipping before the service, because a tip is based on the service. Now, I leave a certain percentage regardless of where I go. If I get bad service, I just won't go back, but I'm still going to tip them. But if I get great service, I'm going to over tip, or I'm going to correctly tip. I'll tip appropriately. I'll tip good. But tipping before the service, to me, always was strange. So I thought it should be called a bid. You're bidding. But already they're taking away the tipping out of the whole mechanism. The reason for this is so that customers are looking and seeing, because they're already going to see rates increasing. They're going to see the service fee, the processing, even though it's dynamic and always different for them, they're going to see those raising. They're going to notice it. They're going to see the $2 line item fee that says this is because of New York City's new gig worker wage law. And so it kind of puts in the customer's mind, this, your city did this to you. Don't blame us. But they've taken the tipping out, and you now have to tip after the fact. So if I order food from DoorDash, I can't tip up front now. And then unlike Uber Eats, like with the DoorDash, how it was a tougher to tip bait, you couldn't pull it back. So, but now you can't even put in that tip up front. You have to wait till the food is delivered before you can even get to an option screen that shows you a tip. And even we know people aren't going to do that. It's hard enough to get them to tip. I can tell you from rideshare days, people don't go back into the app until the next time they use it, really. I mean, once they get their food, they're happy, they're eating, and it's going to be costing them so much more. The other thing New York is doing, other than moving the tips to the back, is they are also increasing what they are going to charge the stores. And they have documentation that they are giving to their customer partners, to the restaurants and locations they work with, saying, hey, here's how much things need to go up, or here's how it's going to go. But basically it's going to cost these locations more. Again, trying to pin it on the city. Look what New York City's done. Now you guys got to pay us more. And so the restaurants might think, some of them, hey, maybe they're getting it to the drivers, because I saw that thing about the drivers getting 30 an hour. Okay, that's why it's all a perfect storm, because to the restaurants, to the customers, they're thinking, oh, look at DoorDash. They just gave it's making headline news everywhere. So, they're making $30 an hour. That's going to lead, you can't tip till after, but it's also going to do the same thing Prop 22 did. It's going to make them not tip at all, because they're going to be thinking, every driver makes $30 an hour. Why should I tip? Maybe some of them are like, dude, I work at a gas station. I make $20 an hour. Why should I tip a delivery driver who's making 30 an hour guaranteed? Especially during inflation, recession, and all the things we're going through right now. The holidays coming up. People are tight with their money right now. Well, Now they've moved the tipping almost out of sight of the customer. They're raising the rates on the customer. They are adding a surcharge to the orders. You can't tip till after. They're telling the restaurants you got to pay more. They are going to the wall trying to pin New York City on everything they're doing. But at the same time that they're doing that, they're making it seem to the drivers, and by getting into every national publication and news, like, hey, look how good we are to our drivers. So it's this, like I said, a perfect storm. They're making it seem like, look how good we're trying to treat our drivers. Look at what New York City's making us do. And that way, when this fails, because it will, because a floor meets ceiling means that the people who are the hustlers, the earners, the ones who get out there and make it work and make more money than others are taking tougher shifts. They're working harder hours. They're working tougher areas, all that kind of stuff. They do that to make more money. That's called the hustle. That's why not everybody is designed for the gig economy. I mean, it's true. Not everybody's designed for the service industry even. But here's the bottom line. New York also is the #1 state that has illegal immigrants using the apps. There's a bunch of states where this is becoming a major problem, which I've called triple oversaturation. Not only are we oversaturated now, we have illegal immigrant oversaturation. And I'm not against people entering this country. I just know that we need to do it correctly. And even those who do get in illegally, because sometimes that happens and whatnot, for whatever reasons, like, this is the easiest way for them to get some work. Some people are renting out their accounts and they have people using their account and running it 24 hours a day with 3 people on 8-hour shifts. That meaning never is somebody accountable for that account. So the mess up, I mean, New York City people are up in arms about the immigration issue anyway. Now DoorDash is pinning the city for everything that's going to happen. The pricing raises, all this stuff. And they're giving this false illusion that the drivers are going to be treated better in the long run, when really it's just kind of like, hey, for the next few weeks, for publicity's sake, we're going to make it look like you guys are making a lot of money. But volume's down across the board on these apps. Nobody can debate me on that. And if you want to, go ahead and leave a comment. And if you want to, we can even go live. I have a very busy schedule, but it's not to argue, but I would love to hear somebody's take on if they think that all of these apps, all of the food delivery platforms are not down dramatically, because I actually have the stats to prove it. So we know that the volume's down. We know that they've tried to make up numbers, But guys, that's all I got for the week. That's 13 minutes of news in just under 13 minutes. Peace.